So Adam Faulkner is absolutely the only human being who can mock you and make you do what he wants more by mocking you. That is how absolutely charming that dude is. And George is the only person I have ever seen with the confidence to stand up on a stage and say, so, I invented this poem form, and I'm going to read it to you. Both of which is to say, I am incredibly honored to be sharing the stage with these two gentlemen as I release my book. And I think it fitting, both because of the work that those two gentlemen did and because, well, you know, this, that I start with my autobiography. The first version of this poem, which I believe is the version that's on the internet, was called Comic Book Armor. It's the first performance piece I ever wrote. And when I performed it when I was 22, I was so insecure, I pretended it was about somebody else. 8 endings later, and we're here. So, poem. The boy who wears his comic books like armor often sits alone. He is more comfortable with Iron Man and his own thoughts than he will ever be with a woman. This is not necessarily a bad thing. Because of his nervous tics, she will never feel commonplace to him. She will always know that she is special. The boy who wears his comic books like armor tries to tell her that he loves her each and every day. She doesn't understand. She doesn't understand that when he says, "You remind me of Psylocke," he is not actually saying he thinks you are a scantily clad assassin. He is saying, you have to be psychic. How else could you always know the right thing to say? He is saying you have to be a ninja. How else could you have stolen my heart so easily? He is saying, damn, girl, you have absolutely got to be Psylocke. She is the only character I have ever read about who is as graceful and daring as you are. The boy who wears his comic books like armor is not a good lover. The way he barely touches her makes her feel unattractive, like he is only doing this because she wants him to. This could not be further from the truth. He is simply treating her like the only thing that has ever been this important before comic books. When he undresses her, he does it carefully, like removing the slipcover from a brand new issue. As careful not to wrinkle her clothing as he would be not to damage the plastic. One day, she will leave him. Because feeling special isn't as important as feeling loved. He does love her. She can't understand. He will spend the rest of his life wishing that he were Peter Parker, knowing that if he had a mask to remove, then she, just like Mary Jane, would be his forever. But I don't have a mask to remove. Just an awkward smile. I hope one day it's enough. I'm also going to do a couple of short ones in a row. I'm going to hold my book while I read them. That's a ridiculous thing to say. I'm going to hold my book while I read them. Okay.
Yeah.
Resonance. My mother's birthday is the same day someone I know was murdered. I call her every year to wish her a happy birthday, but I never manage to sound happy. Buying her flowers always feels like buying a funeral bouquet and sending it to the wrong house. Kind of the opposite of that one. Growing old. For my wife. You love me just as I am. I never had a reason to lose weight until you. I can't stand the idea that my body is the only thing that could come between us. I want to be just a little less me so that we can have a little more time. Y'all having a good time? Good, because the feel-goods are over. We're done with those. We might get like a little bit more at the end, but like we're done with those. Being Jewish means always being too much or not enough. It is the 4th of July, a day meant to celebrate freedom and tolerance in a country that seems to have forgotten both. There is less to celebrate every year, but we have the day off. And most of us still have hope that we can make this country better. So we throw a party, not for our country, but for each other. I invite all my friends in the city, even though the ones I know can't come. I want to let the people I care about know every single time I can. Among those who come is the good man. He is the first to laugh, the first to pour somebody else a drink, and always the first to hug you when you are struggling. Later, during a conversation about discrimination, someone mentions that they are Jewish, and the good man, now drunk, says, maybe if you were a foreigner, it would count. Maybe if you wore one of those funny little hats, it would count. But you're nothing. My throat goes dread dry, shocked hoarse. The good man knows that I am also Jewish, but he says this, looking right at me with a broadening smile, like he is letting me in on the sweetest joke. Later, when I give the toast, l'chaim, he cuts me off and says, why are you using that gibberish? Speak real words. When he leaves, he hugs me, says, good night, brother. It's funny, this new definition of brother. It stings, tastes like ash. Weeks later, The first time I tell this story on stage, the good man is there. When I am done, he comes up to me. He is the first one. He says, I can't believe someone said that to you. What an asshole. And for just a moment, just long enough to decide that this was more important than our friendship, I am silent. And then I tell him, it was you. You said that. We talked it out. He apologized. At the end, we laughed. When he went home, he called me brother again. We still get excited when we see each other. Bear hug even. But I don't invite him to parties anymore. And he doesn't call me brother. He was drunk for both of these conversations. They were years ago. I don't know if he even remembers, but I never stop thinking about it. It still stings. It's still ash. There were a lot of hard parts about writing this book. But honest to God, I think the hardest was when they asked me to write a blurb to put on Facebook for the release of the book. I was like, if I could say this in fewer words, I wouldn't have written the book. I would have just written a Facebook post and gone home. It was like really stressful. Okay. But thinking about that got to this. And it is a tradition that I never ever do a show anywhere unless I am doing at least one poem that doesn't exist anywhere else. That's this poem. Secrets on how to get through the day when you are proud and hate yourself. Always leave a simple task undone on your to-do list. This way, even when you are at your worst, even when you are barely human, even when you are failure with a mouth, there will still be something you can accomplish. This is why I leave my socks on the bedroom floor. It drives my wife insane, but it is worth it to feel whole. I have spent years believing that if I could just get over X or accomplish Y, then finally I would be happy. I treated every task in front of me like it was Everest. Like if I could reach the summit, it would finally be enough. I was climbing the wrong mountains. There will always be more pain. There will always be another dream. Enough is never enough. You cannot find happiness. You can only find peace. I have found peace on average. I don't always wear my wedding ring. Sometimes it's because I forget. But sometimes I open the drawer, look at it, and close the drawer again. Because that ring is a symbol that I never have to be who I was again. That ring is a symbol that the best woman I have ever met loves me. And there are days I do not trust myself enough to wear it. Days I cannot bear the thought of losing it. It is okay to put your pride in a drawer. It is okay to be weak. It is okay to know that that weakness also makes you strong. It is okay to be okay. And so that's the story of me telling my wife I sometimes don't wear the ring on purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be hearing about that later. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We Jews are called the people of the book. I can read Hebrew, but I do not understand it. I was taught that in order to become an adult, that in order to become a man, I needed to develop a connection with the language of my ancestors, that I needed to be able to read the Torah. I have spent my whole life trying to be a good human, a good man, and a good Jew, in that order. This has left me so much to learn that I haven't gotten to Hebrew yet. If I know anything about my ancestors, it's that they would have a definite opinion about this, and that they would not keep their mouths shut. They couldn't. They would tell me exactly what they thought of my choices. I wouldn't understand a damn word. I was taught that following tradition is more important than understanding it. When it comes to Judaism, I am a jukebox. I can't interpret, but I can play the sounds of my ancestors over and over and over. Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, od yahalucha selach. How much time do I have left? How am I doing?
You're doing great. You're doing great. This time is yours. Yeah.
All right.
I'll still wave at you like you said.
All right. I'm just getting nervous. I feel like I've been up here a while.
It's your book. It's your life.
That's fuck right.
We're here for you, Jay.
Living trust, or the proper use of my body. To my nephew Harrison, I leave my throat. It is the only part of myself I have ever considered perfect. It knows when to swallow and when to speak. It will help you be the right amount of assertive. To the last woman I loved, I leave my bones. They are broken but still work. Just like you. Like your conscience. Please, take them apart. Learn how to be whole. Use any of the pieces you need. I have long since forgiven your lies. I have long since forgiven my body for failing, for breaking. Maybe forgiveness is transitive. To my niece Tallulah, I leave my ears. Sound is the only thing in this universe that lasts forever, my dear. You will know how to put these to good use. I know you will always be careful with what you say, what you allow them to hear. To my wife, I leave my skin. It is stretched and tattooed. Many people have looked at my skin and thought it ruined. Just like you have looked at yourself and thought the worst. But you are soft and gentle and contain everything you need, just like the skin did for me. To my friends, I leave my teeth. I will not apologize for them. They are broken and ugly, but they are the parts of myself I worried about the most, just like I worried about you all. Bear these as a reminder to take care of each other. And to my own memories, To whatever is after this life, I leave my words. They are far from perfect and were frequently misused, but they were heartfelt and honest. The only legacy I could ever accept. Before I go any further, I just want to say thank you to Button. There was a time when I was younger and I really wanted to publish a book and nobody wanted it. And then there was a time when I hated everything and didn't want to publish anything. And then there was a time where I found peace and I reached out to Sam. And then Sam said, "What the fuck took you so long?" And then we were here. I was like, "When can I submit?" And he's like, "When's your fucking book ready?" And I was like, "Okay, fair enough." So yeah, thank you, Sam, for being ready when I was. That's all. I have always prided myself on being honest, but recently I have decided that I would not speak unless I could say the complete truth. This has made it much harder to talk about the things that are really important to me. Samantha, I wouldn't change a thing about our prom night, not even my ridiculous powder blue tuxedo. I have spent so many wishing that we could have had a different ending. I have lost track of the number of times I called you crazy, and every time I did, I was so of myself. Do you remember that night that we watched the meteor shower and you put my hand on your left breast and you offered me? I still can't. All I could say was, "Dad, you are the of I have ever met. Thank you. I wouldn't be half the I am today if it wasn't for you." Do you remember what you said to me the first time I came home with a broken arm? You said, "Jared, why don't you just..." And I did, Dad. I have spent the rest of my life trying so that you would be of me. If I ever have kids, I'm going to make sure they know one thing. I'm going to make sure that they know and it's all because of you, Dad. The first time a woman told me I was the only fat man she had ever wanted to fuck, I could only say, I almost married her. By the third woman who told me that I was the only fat man she had ever wanted to fuck, I knew to say, I think a lot about the other women I have loved, the ones who never told me why I was desirable, and that if they did, they'd say, "You see, the thing about the truth is that it is almost never one thing. I just want to be an honest man while still leaving room for all of the answers. So how come every time I try to hold the truth, it..." So I think this is going to be the last one I read directly from the book. So here's a book. Those of you who know me know that, I'm always excited and proud of things that I have done until they are done. And then as soon as they are done, I'm like, "Fuck that thing, it's garbage." This book is one of the only things I've ever done that I don't think was garbage. So thank all of you who helped that happen. I know, strong salesmanship. Why do you let me talk? If the act of naming something is an attempt to give it purpose, then leaving it nameless is more than a mere act of laziness. It is an attempt to rob it of all meaning. It is a murder of language. Things I can't believe we don't have words for. Killing your own twin. The desire to watch everything burn even though you hate the flame, the light, and the smell. An appropriate amount of pride in one's own actions. The urge to jump every time you are at a fatal ledge even though you have never wanted more to live. The taste in your mouth, one sugar cube sweeter than blood when you know someone can't be trusted but you have no idea why. For a gathering of mourners. For the reason you don't give up no matter how bloody and tired. For how good a failure can feel when you never thought you'd get this far. For the feeling somewhere between fear and ecstasy right before you confess how you feel. The desire to kiss someone you have no interest in just to see how they taste, how their tongue moves. Homesickness not for a place but for a time. The first time you hold a new niece or nephew. We have more than 3,000 words for the things that scare us. Whole dictionaries worth of phobias. But the sensations we worry we could get lost in remain nameless and lurking. Just because we do not speak of them does not mean they are forgotten. We must find a way to say this so they do not take us over. I'm going to do 2, maybe 3 more, and then we're going to call it evening. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Love can only be described the way it is. That's right. Love can only be described the way it is lived. In parts, hoping that the whole makes sense because we know none of the pieces do. Love, 1A. Love is a sandwich. Everything that we do can be reduced to the layering on of parts, to hoping that we get the combination right. Love is a sandwich. Both are tiny little things that didn't exist before we made them. We put both in our mouths. Love, 1B. I fuck like a hurricane. Which is to say nothing of its sudden onset or its volume, only that it takes an entire team of scientists to predict when it will happen. I fuck like a tornado, which is to say in here we will be safe, but around us things will be destroyed by our excess, and I promise we will not end up in the same place that we started. Love, 1C. If there is anything more like the way I fall in love than a children's cartoon, I haven't found it yet. There are 8 women who say that I am a great man and that any woman would be lucky to have me. I have asked 3 of them out. They all said no. We still hang out, but boy, it gets awkward sometimes. If there's anything more like a tunnel drawn on a wall than this, I haven't found it yet. love too. Love is the only thing that all of the songs are right about. Love is all that you need. Love is a cold and broken hallelujah. Love 3. The heart is a terrible metaphor for love. Please stop using it. Love is not a muscle. It cannot atrophy from lack of use. Love is an organ. It can always sneak up on you. The lungs are a much better The lungs are a much better metaphor for love. Please always use them. That inhale is the moment of excitement when you meet someone new. The exhale is that moment of fear. We all feel we will feel if this doesn't work out, but that moment between breaths when your body is all potential, that is love. Love is... So I'm going to read one more out of the book, and then I'm going to do one more not from the book, and then we're done. Thank you so much. If you want me to sign a book, please come up and say so afterwards. If not, just come be friends. Every time I look at the title of this poem, I can't believe it was that long ago. April 16th, 2007. When I visit the Wikipedia page about your murder, it takes me almost 5 minutes to find your name. It is tucked deep among the list of the 31 other victims. I hate that word. Victim. It's so small. Words should have to be as big as the thing they describe. Whatever word we replace victim with should take as long to say as it took me to find your name. But there you are. Henry Lee, number 16. It took me so long to find you because they used your government name. Your American name, the one your parents thought would keep you safe. Even though I never heard anyone call you anything other than Hen. Hen Lee. Hen. Hen. When I type your name, Hen Lee, into Google, I find 1,000 living people with your name and no mention of you. I spend hours looking at their photographs to see if any of them have your smile so that I can hate them, call them thief. When I type Henry Lee into Google, the first entry is the Wikipedia page about your murderer. The thing I hate most about being human isn't our penchant for violence, although that's a close second. It's the fact that we won't be remembered for the lives we lead, only for the people who made us this way. Despite all of the death I have seen, how often I have wanted to bring someone back, I have always hated all the Frankenstein stories. No one seems to care or even remember Frankenstein was the scientist. The creation was nameless. Nameless like you feel now, Hen. The Wikipedia page about the Virginia Tech massacre is 12,000 words long. Less than 500 are dedicated to the 32 who were murdered. The rest are about him, or about the man who took your name away. Almost never perform that poem. Thank you all. Just because I like to double down on the happiness, let's end on a happy note. Every time I perform this poem, I tell myself that it might be the last time I do. And this feels like that moment. So, we'll see if that rings true, but it actually feels real this time. A letter to Sarah. When considering superpowers, if I could regenerate any damage done to my body, I would double backflip belly flop off the tallest building I could find. I would make you watch. When my body hit the ground, it turned bone to dust. When blood splattered across your face, I would calmly walk up to you and say, yeah. Ever since you killed yourself, it's been like that for all of us. All of the time. If I could fly, I would take you so high, so fast, you'd be terrified that wind resistance alone would rip you out of my arms, but I would hold on to you with a strength born of fear and longing. I would whisper into your ear, if only you told us something was wrong, we could have held you, told you we loved you, we could have helped. Maybe it wouldn't have been enough, but we could have helped. If I could read other people's thoughts, I would not invade your privacy. Instead, I would eavesdrop on every passerby and tattoo my body with all of the nice things they didn't think you needed to hear. Does she get out of bed like this? I wish I could be that graceful. Meeting your ex-lovers would turn my chest and back into a masterpiece of all of the things they never taught to tell you. How could I have let her get away? She was the best thing that ever happened to me. My legs would be a patchwork with hatch marks of all of the times I still missed you. It wouldn't even take a single day to cover this body and all of the nice things people didn't think you needed to hear. If I could travel in time, I would go back to the moment before it was too late. To the moment before you started a suicide note that read, "Dear Jared, I am doing this now and I know you will be the one to find me. Because of all of my friends, you are the one who is strong enough to take this." What made you think I was strong enough to take this? I would go back to the moment before you became the reason I don't read letters anymore without having someone else proofread them first. And if I could project my thoughts into someone else's head, even knowing it could never have saved you, nothing could have saved you, but maybe it would have saved me. You would never have doubted, even for an instant, that you were loved. Thank you. Once again, thank you so much. I hope you had fun.